Hello everyone! Many of you have been eagerly awaiting to see whether I'm going to continue with the Use Your Scraps project this year. And here's my new Use Your Scraps journal, which I'm absolutely thrilled to bits with. I love it. I just want to touch it and feel it. For my new subscribers, of which I've received many during the last couple of weeks, so thank you. This is the Use Your Scraps journal that I created last year, and this was just made from packaging from a duvet cover set, and once a month I just filled all the pages using scraps from my stash, and this is the finished journal that I ended up with by the end of the year. I've got a playlist showing how I made all of these gorgeous pages, so I'll link that in the description box below. But this is the new one for this year, completely different in size and style. Although I've made it from the same kind of packaging. This is the packaging I've used, which was from pillow slips. The one I made last year was from a duvet cover set. This one is from pillow slips, but it's the same kind of stuff. I just love it. So a sneak peek, I'll show you the pages at the end of the video. But, you know, I didn't want to repeat the same thing that I did last year. I wanted to do something slightly different, and so this is what I've come up with. The cover is made from the rice paper printouts that I had done from the mixed media masterboards, the collage masterboards that we've all been making over the last couple of weeks. So again, I'll leave the link to this video in the description box below for anybody who hasn't seen it. I also want to say as well that we have a Facebook group where people share ideas and follow along with our monthly prompts. If you want to join us, feel free to do so. I'll leave the link to the Facebook group, which is called the Mixed Media Emporium, in the description box below. But let me just talk you through how I made my gorgeous journal, and I'll see you at the end of the video for a flip through. Now, the journal I created last year was just made with packaging from bedding, exactly the same as this, but just on a larger scale. I think this was from pillowcases, whereas the one I showed you earlier was made from packaging from a duvet cover. So this is what I'm going to use to make my journal for this year. Now, I know that many of you will be interested to know what size it is. Let's just measure it. I think it's 8 by 8 by 8, and the spine of this one is considerably smaller. This is just about 3/4 of an inch. And that compares with the one that I made last year, which was, let's have a look, 10.5 by 10.5, with, I do believe, a 2-inch spine. So a much smaller one, just to, you know, vary it up a bit. So I just want to start off by adding a base layer to my journal cover. You can see that it's got a dent here. The edges are not particularly even. If I turn it this way as well, it's very uneven at the sides and edges. So what I want to do to start off with, I've got some kitchen roll, kitchen towel, and I've cut off 2 squares here which will fit the length of my journal. I'm going to take the plies apart. This is 2-ply, so I'm just going to take the plies apart like this. So here we go. I'll just pull this apart really gently. I'm trying to keep it in one piece along the perforation if I can. And I just want to cover the whole of the outside with a piece of this before I do anything. And you'll notice as well that my piece of kitchen towel is longer than the height of my journal, and that's so that I can wrap it over and cover those scruffy edges. So I've poured some matte Mod Podge into a tub like this, and I'm going to water it down slightly as well. Matte medium on its own is just too thick and gloopy. Let me just move my camera down a bit. So I've just added some water to this mixture here. If this is still too thick, I can add a little bit more. So I'm just using it directly from my spray bottle. So I'm just going to very loosely just apply my glue over the background like this, using a nice soft brush. I'll do one half at a time, just to make it easier. making sure that I've covered all of those areas there, like that. And then I can just put my brush there for the time being. Decide which side of the napkin you want to use. I think this one here is the one with the texture on it. And so I'm just going to pop this down, as I say, just leaving a nice overhang, just so that I can just neaten up the edges. And I'm just going to smooth that down, sort of getting it into that crease there as well. So smoothing that down gently with my hands, and then I'm going to add the glue to the other side. So my glue is adhered to the other side of my cover, so I'm now just going to smooth this really gently as well. This will also help to harden the outside of my cover. So at this stage I'm just going to bring it together just to make sure that it's not going to crack when the glue has finally dried. That looks nice and neat to me. Then I'm just going to open up my journal, and I'm just going to apply some glue to the top edge here, and along the top here where I've got that scruffy edge. Don't have to be particularly neat about this. And then I'm just going to fold the kitchen towel over. So trying to get some on that edge here. I'll just dab that on, and then I can fold the kitchen towel over. And this will, as I say, just neaten my edge. And I'm going to do this all the way around. So let me just move that over. So let me just show you what I'm going to do with the edges here. I'm just applying some glue like this. I'm going to apply glue to the end here as well. And then I'm going to fold these edges in here as if I was wrapping a parcel, just so that that's all nice and neat. Again, we'll make sure that we've got some glue to this edge here. Make sure I've got plenty of glue there, and then I'm just going to wrap that over as well. And then I'll do exactly the same thing on the other side. So the inside of my cover is now dry enough for me to add another layer. I've just cut another piece of kitchen towel, smaller enough to fit the inside. And you'll see as well that I've used my X-Cut corner rounder just to round off the edges as well, just so that they don't hang over the edge. I've trimmed it using my paper trimmer, but I kept the two plies together just so that it was easier to trim. So again, I'm just going to peel this apart, and again I'll just do one side at a time with the glue. So I'm just going to add another layer of the PVA glue, watered down, over the whole of the one side, and as I say, this will just strengthen the outside of my cover and just give it a really nice finish. So this is how my journal cover is looking so far. So it feels nice and neat, and I just feel that this has really strengthened it. Now I'm going to be using some of the rice paper that I had printed out the other day to cover the front and back of my journal. I just think this will look absolutely beautiful. I just love that. But before I start gluing that down, I do want to use some Memento ink. This is Espresso Truffle, a nice vintage cover, and I'm going to start by just inking around the edges first before I start gluing anything down. So I've inked around the edges, front and back. I just thought it'd be easier to ink before I apply my rice paper, and then so that's going to be the front. And I think I want this bird as my main focal image. I'm going to try and line it up at the top with the top edge of this part here. And so I'm just going to apply another coat of watered down Mod Podge. So again, it's probably, I don't know, mixture wise, 2 parts Mod Podge and 1 part water. So that's had a coat of glue, and so I'm just going to glue this down. So I just need to just be careful where I apply it, about there, I think. Now to trim the edges, I've just got some plain water. I've just made a slit here, and I'm just going to run my water along there, and hopefully, there we go, that should just tear really easily. And so I'm just going to do this all the way around the edges, and then I can gently file away any of the excess just using a nail file. So that's the front cover done, and for the back I want to use a piece of the other piece of rice paper, the other design of my mixed media collage, and I think I want to have this part of it here, so I'm just going to glue that down there in the same way. I think I want to have that bird on like that. So my covers are on and that looks nice and cohesive, and so before I do anything else I'm just going to give this another coat of the watered down Mod Podge just to seal and protect it. The outside cover of my journal is now dry, so that's how that looks. And for the inside, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these two pieces of ledger paper here. I've just cut 2 blank pages out of one of my vintage ledgers. I couldn't find anything else that was thin enough and that just went with the style of my cover, so I think this will do just fine. I'm going to ink around the edges. You can see already that I've just used my corner chomper just so that the edges are nice and neat. I'm going to ink around the edges, and then I'm going to glue this down just with a glue stick and a little bit of Fabri-Tac. The end papers are now glued in, so that's how we're looking so far. And I just want to add some of this book binding cloth to the outside and the inside here, but I'm going to go off camera to do that because I just want to make sure that I get it nice and even. So I'm pretty happy with that, but you can see that it's a bit wonky just on this edge here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some of this lace trim either side just to neaten that up, just because that will bug me. I know it's stupid because at the end of the day, this is just a junk journal, but you know, that's the way it is, guys. So I'm just going to glue one either side with just a tiny bit of Fabri-Tac. There we go, it goes on that way there. So we'll just apply a tiny bit of glue just to each of the flowers, which will hold it in place. Don't need much glue, just a little bit, because you know this stuff is so strong. There we are. Bring my book back. And we'll just glue that in on the edge like that. I ended up adding some of that trim to the front and the back of the journal as well, and I just think that's finished the binding off nicely. For anybody who's interested in what this binding is, because I know I got asked the last time I used it, it's called Webtex Military Products. I don't know whether you can see there, Webtex Military Binding. I got this from Amazon for £8 for a 50-metre roll. It's really strong and just great for book binding, but I've also added a signature to my journal as well. Now I know that this book is much smaller and has less pages than the journal I did for Usual Scraps last year, and what I'm thinking is that I might do a quarterly journal this year. I don't know, we'll see how this one goes. Now I've added a mixture of different pages here from all kinds of different sources. This is a page from a box that I had from Daphne's Diary with a subscription I had a couple of years ago. This is just a piece of vintage paper from a paper pack, a piece of music ledger. This is a vintage sales ledger from Taylor's in Cheltenham, which is just down the road from where I live, so I just thought that was really fun. This is a piece of Sanderson vintage style wallpaper. I've got this legal document as well, and if I can get to the other side, what I liked about with this was the wax seals on the other side as well, and of course I just love the colour of it as well. Another piece of vintage style wallpaper. This is a Faro and Ball. The other piece of that music ledger. This is a piece of parchment paper that was sent to me in Happy Mail from my friend Debbie, and I just thought that would be fun to use. And you can see that I've inked around the edges of all of these as well. Another piece of paper from the Daphne's diary pack, and then of course that's just the other side of the papers in the signature, so just one signature this time, but I just think that will be really fun to use. So I do hope that you know, you're going to enjoy following along with me with the Usual Scraps project again for this year. I've used a hair elastic to keep my signature together. It had a metal piece in the middle, and I've just chopped that off and then singed the edges using a lighter just to stop it fraying. And I will at some stage add some bead dangles to this. I've got some crimps in my jewellery making stash somewhere, but I just can't lay my hands on them at the moment, so I will finish that off at a later date. But that is my Usual Scraps journal so far. Now, of course, I'm co-hosting the Facebook group with Kylie Koo this year, and I know that Kylie's done a project today as well, so I'll leave the link to her video in the description box below. But if you enjoyed my project, as always, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. Do consider subscribing if you're not subscribed already, and let me know what you think in the comments below. So take care, everyone, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.